Because the world is full of designers that apparently hate us, we're now on to part 3 of this series. Yep, for some reason people just can't stop themselves from designing the worst products, toys, and goods that we eventually end up buying. So grit your teeth and gird your loins as we take a look at even more of the most uncomfortable products ever designed. The Phantom Menace has been slammed by nerds all over the world for being one of the worst Star Wars films ever made. This is thanks in no small part to the most annoying character ever conceived, Jar Jar Binks. This high-voiced, slapstick, long-tongued character made fans despair, but not as much as the Jar Jar merch did. For some reason, a design team thought that this was an acceptable product, a Jar Jar Binks lollipop where his tongue is made of candy. To get to it though, you had to push the pop up, splitting Jar Jar's skull open so that you could French kiss the candy tongue right out of his head. I didn't know I could hate Jar Jar Binks any more than I already did, and yet here we are. Now you'd assume designing baby dolls for kids is a pretty easy task. You just make them cute, don't give them any weird features, and you're good to go. Which begs the question, why in God's name did someone make a pregnant baby doll called Baby's First Baby? It came with features like stretch marks, a milk bottle, and cravings? God, the only thing this doll looks like it craves is the blood of the innocent. Ugh. Thankfully, this is just an art piece by Darren Cullen. He made it as part of a critique on how children of different genders are prepared for adulthood. Yeah, sorry Darren, but nothing could have prepared me for that. Moving on from dolls to plushie toys, it's pretty hard to mess up the design of classic and well-known characters, like Sonic the Hedgehog for example. Red shoes, blue spikes, big eyes, should be easy to put together, right? Wrong, if this plushie is anything to go by. I know I said big eyes, but ideally they'd at least be facing the same direction. It looks more like someone thought this Sonic was a pug instead of a hedgehog. I could almost forgive this if it were a knockoff, but this is an official Sega licensed plushie from 2001. How did they get their own character so wrong? I despair, I truly do. But the cascade of cursed toys doesn't end there. For those of you who were born in the 90s, you might remember snugglers, pillowcases in the shapes of animals and popular cartoon characters. There were cats, pigs, Cinderella, Spider-Man, and Superman? Wait, why did they give him a mouth like that? Why would anyone give a children's product a mouth like that? It gives the stuff, hug, play tagline an entirely different meaning. Well, after doing a bit of digging, I couldn't find any other images of this wildly inappropriate snuggler, so I think someone created this cursed product in Photoshop. Unless anyone watching actually has one of these super stuffable Supermen with the mortifying mouth. If you do, send a photo of it through to stories@beamazed.com, and I'll use it with your credit in the next part of this series. Providing I don't pour bleach into my eyes before then. Which I might do after looking at this next thing. Yep, pass me the bleach. Who makes hairy shoes? From the disturbingly realistic color of the skin to the individual strands of hair, it looks like someone skinned a particularly hairy person and made a pair of heels out of them. Ugh. Okay, thankfully that's not what's happened. These are actually silicone casts of a pair of heels created by artist Zhu Qian, though they are peppered with real strands of human hair. So only mildly horrifying? Great. They were used as part of an exhibition as a statement comparing the shoe's design to a body's natural appearance. Well, job done. I'm never going to be able to look at a pair of heels the same ever again. But Zhu Qian isn't the only designer to challenge the concepts of the high heel. Back in 2008, Anjet Costers revealed her experimental collection of frontless shoes to the world. And the world agreed this was a step too far. These look so needlessly painful on the balls of the feet and just seem straight up wrong. Anjet claimed that the shoes were designed to influence the wearer both physically and mentally. Yeah, she might be onto something there. That design would influence me to take the shoes off and never put them on again. While some things look like they'd be physically painful, others are more mentally damaging, like this thing. Is it meant to be a toy? Or has this inbred Teletubby-looking creature crawled out of the depths of hell to feast on the souls of bad children? Amazingly, it's the former. It appears to be a kabuto, a weirdly terrifying creature created by Japanese picture book author Toshika Nobata. This one in particular is Onimomozuki, a kabuto that eats up peaches, hence his vague peach shape. Kabuto are so popular in Japan that they not only have their own line of toys, but also have a few knockoffs as well. At least I'm hoping that's all this thing is. One product that has been purposefully designed to be creepy, however, is this. Whoever thought it'd be a clever idea to design a phone case that looks like a cheese grater is either a genius or a psychopath. While it'd make you flinch every time you went to pick up your phone, it would dissuade other people from trying to pick it up and look at your messages. My hand hurts just thinking about it. But never to be out-weirded, the online marketplace Etsy has a handmade custom phone case listed on its site that'll make you want to cover your eyes. All your eyes. This very literal iPhone case is creepy in a way I can't describe. While customers seem to love it, I can't get over how realistic all those eyes look. Ugh, no. Well, at least it'd make your mom think twice before trying to pick up your phone and read your messages, I guess. Although that's not the weirdest or worst thing you can find on Etsy. Not by a long shot. Oh my god, what am I looking at? It's a big baby face mask with the arms and legs of a baby doll attached to it, making the wearer look disturbed, to say the least. Honestly, I can't think of a single occasion where you'd need this mask. It's almost too horrifying for Halloween. And that's not the only weird baby doll themed item on Etsy. For some reason, one designer decided to sell an 8-pack of soap on the site in the shape of baby doll arms. I mean, yes, this is quite literally hand soap, but all those tiny fingers ironically make me feel unclean. Ugh. Ah, damn, I've run out of bleach. Fortunately, these glasses should do the trick. God bless whoever decided to stick a bunch of nails onto the lenses of these glasses. They're just what I need to unsee all those cursed items. The opposite of those, I guess, would be these, another uncomfortable Etsy creation. Yes, I admit they do look cool, but imagine reaching up to take these off and forgetting they have giant metal spikes attached to the outside of them. Ouch. Or picking them up absentmindedly and skewering your own hand. Think I'll stick to my original choice. At least I can see the pain coming. You know what isn't painful though? Hitting those like and subscribe buttons down below. Go ahead and appreciate the sensical, perfect design before we move on to something the opposite of that. All done? Great. What horror is up next? When it comes to decorating your room, or maybe your office, you might think a nice wall decal would look nice. Maybe some plants to add a little green to your day-to-day. Or if you're a white woman called Karen, a cringy live, laugh, love quote. Whoever you are, I'm fairly certain you won't be looking for Amazon's wall decal suggestion of a senior woman with asthma. Apparently, it's the perfect 2-foot-tall decal to hang over your bed. But if that isn't weird enough for you, why not try out the Asia Old Man decal, which is obviously the ideal decoration to have hovering over your desk, staring at you blankly while you work. Yeah, I'm not sure whoever put these listings together thought about appropriate places for these decals. But that doesn't matter. The people who purchased them have found even weirder and funnier places to put them. I don't know about you, but Thomas the Tank Engine freaked me out a bit as a kid. There's something about a train with a face I just don't trust. Even less so when it's this cursed-looking Thomas knockoff. Choo-choo! All aboard the train in pain! Why would they make their faces flesh-colored? It's as if Mickey Mouse and Thomas had a couple of hideous love children who looked so bad they could only live in the knockoff amusement sections of malls across America. I think that's a scandal Disney would rather keep under wraps. Speaking of Mickey Mouse, his lifelong partner Minnie has been turned into a nightmare as well. Sing-a-ma-jigs are stuffed electronic toys that make a variety of different noises when they're squeezed. Their mouths are made from stretchy terry cloth to help it look like they're actually singing, which looks fine on the original set of dolls. But Disney wanted a slice of this pie, so they created the Minnie and Mickey Sing-a-ma-jigs. And I'm sorry, but those mouths look so wrong in so many ways, and they don't sound much better. It looks like they strapped a couple of singing buttholes onto Mickey and Minnie's mouths. Buttholes full of teeth. True nightmare fuel. Speaking of electronic nightmare toys, do you remember Furbies? These animatronic furballs were originally released back in 1998 and became a must-have toy. While they didn't do much except chatter endlessly, recently people have started modifying their old Furbies in the single worst way possible, by making them long. It's a trend sweeping the internet, with people turning their toys into creepy caterpillar-esque terrors. I can't tell what it is about lengthening them that makes them so unsettling, but the addition of things like insect legs and baby hands doesn't make it any better, that's for damn sure. You know what else you can add to a cuddly toy to ruin them forever? Teeth. Specifically, you can ruin a perfectly good Winnie the Pooh plushie by giving him not only a human set of teeth, but also a weirdly sewn snout. This isn't the work of some psycho child, though. These are educational bears that supposedly help kids learn about teeth while at the dentist and keep them calm. But Pooh's not the only one whose mouth's been mutilated. Other cuddly animals in dentist offices across the world have been horrifyingly given sets of plastic human teeth to try and make the kids feel at ease. Forget kids, these make me want to avoid the dentist for the rest of my life. Ever wanted to crack open a toy to see what it looks like inside? Well, sometimes a nasty surprise can be lurking beneath, as this poor person found out. They broke open this pretty generic looking plastic pony toy, only to find out that the ponytail was literally a ponytail. The hair was attached to the beheaded head of a totally different doll that had been stuffed inside the horse's body. I guess it's like they say, you shouldn't look a gift horse in the mouth. Or the butt. Alright, brace yourself and take a look at this. Tell me, what do you think this is? Is it a couple of really weird raspberries? Maybe some boiled meat?
It might be a tumor.
It's not a tumor.
Close, it's actually a pink cactus chair and ottoman set, designed by artist Shane Young for the China Chair Project. The reason it looks so hideously flesh-like and shiny is because the set has been molded out of silicone gel. Sounds comfy, though I'm not sure I'd be too keen to take a seat on what looks like a super huge spiky tumor. You know what I'd be even less keen to take a seat on though? This abomination. Either I missed a fundamental episode of SpongeBob SquarePants, or the person who made this knockoff mall ride has no shame. They've stuck SpongeBob's face onto a dime-to-ride horse body, saddled him up, and just called it a day. And what's worse is that they've done it to poor Pikachu too. My god, where does it end? Well, while SpongeBob was busy having his face plastered on knockoff mall rides, his co-star Sandy the Squirrel hasn't fared much better. This British aquarium toy seems to have had a few issues during production. I mean, an attempt was definitely made. Or maybe this is meant to be Sandy's inbred cousin, Sandy? It's not just American malls and British aquariums that have to deal with horrifically designed knockoff products. Next to the entrance of Malaysia's Lavender Gardens, someone has tried to build a minion from the film Despicable Me near the main building for reasons? While the logic was unclear, the final design of the statue was downright wrong. The yellowed eyes, small mouth, and individually detailed teeth make this minion look like one heck of a reject. Either that or the Minions have a horror film spinoff and I don't know about it yet. So I'll admit, I don't really get fashion, especially women's fashion. But even I know that a brown, smudgy design on a white garment is destined to make it look like someone pooped themselves. Although this is something that fashion giant ASOS definitely didn't realize until it was too late. The design of this two-piece sweatsuit would have looked just fine if they hadn't smeared a big brown line right over the derriere region. But this accidental poop trend isn't just a modern mistake. This poor lady on the clothing resale site Depop was attempting to sell what she thought was a cute, artfully dyed dress from the early 2000s. Only it didn't look artfully dyed as much as it looked like it had been dragged through some dirty water. Is this really what the kids are wearing these days? What's so wrong with jeans and a nice shirt? Another facet of female fashion I'll never understand is the obsession with bags. Handbags, to be precise. Bags too tiny to be of any practical use, or even bags that aren't actually bags. They're just tiny bedazzled chairs? Yeah, I can't pretend to know why this is a thing. But what makes me really uncomfortable is this design. It's quite literally a handbag created by Conrad of design duo Sherwin and Conrad. It's a mold of the designer's own hand attached to the bag as a handle. Perfect for anyone who needs a bit of physical contact. Although I'm not sure if holding a rubber cast of your own hand counts as comforting or disturbing. Now, I'm aware that high heels are painful. I tried on a pair once and managed to totter around in them like Bambi on ice for about 2 minutes before I nearly broke my ankles. With that in mind, I dread to think how painful and dangerous a pair of glass heels like this would be. These are the creation of glasswork artist Allison Lowry, who designed the ankle-breaking blocks as part of an exhibition focused on the hidden battles women face in society. Pretty hard-hitting, and considering they're literal blocks of glass, heavy lifting as well. Now for all the unintentional and intentionally uncomfortable designs we've looked at so far, absolutely none can beat this absolute beast. More of a historical artifact than a product, this 18th century Chinese blade chair shows us what real discomfort looks like. Now you might think this was used as a torture device back in the day, but it was recently discovered that these 12-bladed chairs were actually used to channel the dead. Chinese medium known as Tongki would sit on these chairs voluntarily, but the blades wouldn't cut their skin, mainly because they were quite blunt, and by carefully distributing their weight, the Tongki could avoid any serious cuts. The display supposedly demonstrated a superhuman godlike power that allowed them to channel the spirits. I can see why they were taken at their word. Anyone willing to sit on blades just to deliver a message isn't someone you'd want to mess with. Today, we don't use blade chairs anymore. I hope. What we have instead are designers that like to test the limits of our pain tolerance with creations like this. This is the aptly named Stick Chair, created by Carlo Wolf. Aside from looking like a budget version of Game of Thrones' Iron Throne, its wooden spikes and limited sitting surface make my butt hurt just looking at it. It's supposedly a contemporary design, which I'm beginning to think might be art speak for practically unusable, but fun to look at. I respect any establishment that tries to make their urinals nice. Some look classy, others have fun electronic features, and some miss the mark entirely. I don't know why anyone ever thought peeing into a urinal shaped like a mouth was a good idea, but they're installed in more places than I'm comfortable with. Although I guess it could always be worse thanks to Photoshop. Yep, someone edited a human mouth into this toilet bowl. Initially, I thought this was just a hyper-realistic toilet bowl decal. Thank God it's not, though. Anyone unfortunate enough to lift up a lid and see this might have pooped themselves before they got a chance to sit down. Very few people have been successful in reinventing the classic cutlery setup of a fork, knife, and spoon, but that hasn't stopped others from trying. The designers over at Erogatory decided to use 3D printing techniques to create their remodeled versions of the classic cutlery setup. Yeah, it's all very shiny, but the final result makes me itch. Sure, the fork has 4 prongs, the knife has an edge, and the spoon has a curve, but those handles don't look like they'd feel fun to use. Plus, food would quickly get stuck in the holes, and if you couldn't fish it out, it'd rot in the gold-plated brass cavities. I think I'll just stick with the regular, holeless, sterling silver kind, thanks. But your cutlery could always be made out of something much, much worse. While some see it as a pioneering piece of surrealist art, in my eyes, this is an abomination. This freakishly fur-lined teacup and spoon is a surrealistic object created by Merritt Oppenheim back in 1936. It's considered a quintessential part of the surrealist art movement of its time. I, however, can't get over the thought of what it would feel like to use. Slurping tea out of that cup while feeling the wet fur tickle your lips? But hair doesn't always have to be on crockery or utensils to creep me out, as this resin cast spoon holder proves. No, that's not a fine marble patterning, that's dog hair cast in resin. The creators of this sickening spoon rest thought it would be funny to create a spoon rest you didn't really want to rest your spoon on. And you know what? Mission 100% accomplished. Ugh. Now, I'm a sucker for anything sugary, but even I'd struggle to keep this down. Before all the inappropriate comments come flooding in about its unfortunate appearance, this is actually the largest gummy worm in the world. At 3 pounds, 26 inches, and more than 4,000 calories, this is the undisputed daddy of all chewy sweets. But just looking at this is making my teeth and jaw hurt. Even so, there are thousands of videos on YouTube alone of people trying to finish this bad boy in one sitting. Some succeed, but most fail hilariously. All I can say is kudos to anyone who thinks they're brave enough to handle all 26 inches of this gummy beast. Sometimes a product on its own doesn't look wrong, but when it's combined with another, the final look can be embarrassing. Soul-crushingly embarrassing, as I'm sure the lady in the middle realized all too late after she uploaded this image to Facebook. I mean, that's a lovely, flattering dress, or it would have been if it hadn't gathered awkwardly around her chest and been paired with that necklace. Do you want to tell her what it looks like, or should I? Did you know Jesus had his own merch? Yeah, you can get Jesus' face on just about anything you want, from truck decals and cutlery to bath toys and, really poorly thought out light switch covers. With that switch placement, I'm not too keen on the idea of turning Jesus on, considering he's also got his hands on 2 children. But that's not the only poorly designed product in this religion. These little angels are, I'm sure, meant to be singing their praises to the Lord. But the placement of those candles makes it look like they might be praising something else. Oof. Those are going to be hard to explain when you next take Grandma to Sunday service. And that's about all the discomfort I can stand for one video. Which one of these products did you think was the worst? And if you've got pictures of things that you might think belong in this series, send them on over to stories@beamazed.com, and they might make it into the next installment. Well, as always, thanks for watching.